Y'all know I cannot shut up about anything that I order and I wear from Skims. Everything is just so good. But their Fits Everybody Intimates collection is truly one of a kind. It is so comfortable. It feels like you're wearing nothing. There's nothing worse than a bra like wire stabbing you, poking you all day long, or a lace that's a little itchy. You can't use Skims and discomfort in the same sentence. It's impossible. A few of my favorite products are the Fits Everybody Dipped Front Thong. It feels like you're wearing nothing at all, and it perfectly molds to your body. The Fits Everybody Boy Short is what I wore postpartum, right after I got out of diapers. It was so comfortable. It made me feel like a human being again. The Fits Everybody T-shirt bra is what I am wearing right now and what I wear every day of my life because it is the bra that you forget you're wearing. Shop Skims Best Intimates, including the Fits Everybody collection and more at skims.com and Skims stores. After you place your order, be sure to let them know we sent you. Select podcast in the survey, and be sure to select our show in the drop-down menu that follows.
You're crazy.
Wait, you worked on Unpregnant
Yes.
with Shug. She's like a family friend, Sugarland Beard.
I
She like
love
watches our
her. And she
daughter.
has an amazing voice.
No, she's Miss Rachel. Like all of our friends, like, oh, does like your daughter watch Miss Rachel? I'm like, we have the Miss Rachel
You
in
have
person.
real life Miss Rachel.
Real life Miss Rachel.
Oh,
I've
I
known
love
Shug
her.
for 10 years.
I love her character in it too. She's like,
yeah.
it's chilling. It's just like a crazy lady. I mean, it's so funny because she's so the opposite of it, but she's so cool.
Best. I
Oh, I'm Pregnant was so cool. It was my first movie.
Really?
It was in New
Wow.
Mexico, baby.
That's
Albuquerque.
crazy.
I've been to New Mexico once.
Ben, you got your do not disturb on your phone? Henny. What's crazy is that people,
Yeah.
no matter how much you tell them to silence their phone, because I did a play and every night,
Oh, of course.
every single show,
Yep.
there would be a phone going off. Every single show.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I haven't
Every
brought-
single show. I also think that people, like some people are just like not really in tune with their, I think it's a lot of like the older folks.
Yeah.
There's
Like, no,
that.
it's been off for years.
But nowadays with me, I feel like my phone just decides to go on Do Not Disturb.
Yeah.
And then you just assume it's always on Do Not Disturb. And then,
And then you don't. I love a do not disturb.
oh, obsessed.
D&D, baby.
I'm always
D&D.
like, notify anyway.
Notify
Notify
I
anyway.
used to do that. And my friend did that the other day when I was like in rehearsal. I got so mad at her and I did it so many times. I was like being such a hypocrite. I was like, why would you do that? She's like, that's all you do.
Does it actually like notify? Like, does
Yeah.
it like
And
ding ding?
I was like, ding ding. I was like, I was like,
Sorry,
excuse me.
everyone.
So
Thought
sorry.
I was on Do Not Disturb.
Did not know. And I was on Do Not Disturb. How about that? But yeah, a lot of people, literally every single show was that. And then some people had like really like crazy ringtones, which I didn't know was still in
Oh my God.
2025. And it would just be like a song playing. Or like the Star Wars theme.
I used to wake up to a sound tone of Tommy Boy with Chris Farley
Okay.
when David Spade was knocking on the
Oh
door.
my God. That sounds
For
like,
like a
That was your
year,
like
and it was-
alarm sound.
That was my alarm sound, and it was like just a really weird.
but
looking
everything
back,
that you have as an alarm sound becomes like a horrible
It's
like a
never
memory,
wanna
like
hear
this
it again.
memory where you're just like,
again.
you know. But like back in the day when it came out, you were
You're
like,
like,
oh my
this is so
god,
cool.
like this is so cool. Yeah.
I know. I want to bring back ringtones actually. Now
Yeah.
that I think about it, I'm like, why not?
Ring back tones.
Bring back tones.
Bring back.
I was a
tones.
psychopath that had the default setting on my screensaver until my wife
Oh,
told me. to
what
be
is it now?
Now it's my family.
Okay, cool.
know, like
That's
a-
usually what it's for.
Yeah.
Or your
Yeah,
pets
it was
if you
like
don't have.
it was like the raindrops
The
for so
raindrops.
long. I'm like, okay.
I thought it was cool. Yeah.
you don't like to have like a little aesthetic on anything?
I just didn't think about it.
You didn't think about it.
You know.
That's what wives are for.
Sometimes
you know what I mean?
forget to be
Truly,
human.
it's what wives are
Their
for.
wives are for. They're there to like, spice up the aesthetic of everything.
Oh, all men kind of are a little psychopathy without a lady by their side.
I
you
agree.
know? Just a little
Yeah.
rough around the edges.
Just a little. They just need a little bit of help.
Yeah, it's like, why would you do that? You know?
Why would you do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel that.
Barbie, how are you? Welcome
I'm
to the
so
show.
Good. Thank you for having me.
We're so
so
excited to be
excited.
with you. Absolutely love the movie. Bob Trevino Likes It.
Thank
It's
you.
awesome. I mean, I cried several times.
Oh.
Mostly like happy tears. Obviously, it's an emotional film.
Mhm.
There's movies now and then that you watch that kind of really make you, especially in the times that we live in today, just like sometimes through sadness, but like I think we're just living in this world where we're just constantly focused on ourselves and what
Yeah.
we need and in our own world. And it's easy to think about how life gets us down. And I think, Bob Trevino Likes It about, Lily and the character who, really had no one,
Yeah.
and then this bond between these characters makes you appreciate, it reminds you that you sometimes have to look up a little bit, and see maybe people in need and things like that. Like one thing Natalie really helped me with when we met is like, I could be on my phone in my own world. It just like Natalie would always say hi to a cashier greeter or a barista and things like that,
Yeah.
which I've gotten better at.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like this movie in a weird way kind of just reminds you to like connect with people, but it's just such a beautiful movie.
Thank you so much. I totally agree with you. I think the lots of like the reactions I've been getting and reading about people's reactions has been like kind of like it's so confronting about like kindness. It's like it's exposure therapy to kindness was one of like the comments I read, and I was like, that's so true. It's like I feel like this movie really is so hopeful and yet so dark, but so uplifting. I just feel like people don't really make stuff like that anymore. It's usually like something fancy, like with a camera trick and like cool clothes and all that stuff. So it's just like this film really meant a lot to me. I mean, obviously for personal reasons, but I think for people who are watching it, it's really cool to see the reactions. And I know Tracy, who's like the director and writer, she's been doing like her little tour around the whole country. And I mean, outside of the country too, for all these like kind of mini film festivals and really hearing from people. And it's just been so sweet. It's like, it's really cool to be part of something that makes people really emotional. I feel like I don't even know, the things that when my friends watch it, I didn't even know that they would have that reaction.
Yeah, no, it's an emotional film, but very uplifting, and obviously peaks and valleys of some sadness. But it has a very inspirational movie. I mean, it was really touching. Yeah, and like you said, you don't see a lot of films nowadays like that.
Yeah, I think it's really radical to do a movie that is like genuinely just about being nice. I'm like, truly. I feel like we live in like a world where we're very critical about ourselves, about other people, and Tracy's voice in this movie is just. I remember we even had like a line that we were like, it was like a small character, and it wasn't even mean or anything, but it was like a slight joke, and she was like, "I don't want to make fun of anyone in this movie." Like she just has such a like a sweet heart, and like her voice just like radiates through the film, and it's just like it's such a like it's a warm hug, and also like really like stays with you. I mean, I had to actually do it. So like 2 months after, I was like, oh my God, how am I gonna recover from this? So it's so cool that people like it. I mean, we did it for like so little money in Kentucky, very tiny crew, very, very tiny, and everyone just trying to make it happen. And we did, which is honestly a miracle.
What connected you and drew you to playing Lily Trevino?
Well, when I read the script 2 years ago, I just felt so connected because I have like my own father issues. Like I don't have a father in my life. Yeah, I mean, it turns out
a tale as old as time.
Yeah, turns out a lot of people have problems with their fathers. And I spent a lot of my childhood just kind of ignoring it. Like it was like kind of this like elephant in the room that I had like this father that like I just don't talk about. And he was in my life till I was like 7, and then he just like did, kind of dipped and left the country. In fact, nice, right?
Way to get out.
Yeah, why not? So, for me, this was like when I started doing therapy when I was like 18, 19, I went in for other reasons. And I kind of was like, well, my childhood, like, who cares? It's all about like what, like 18, 19, whatever my problems were then, which is probably like, dating and being in New York and being insane. And, and I remember she really like made me talk about my childhood, and I just didn't really think it connected any of it.
Sure.
And so when I did, I was like, oh my God, my father actually, like this like emptiness in my life actually really affects me every day without me knowing. It's like very subconscious. So for me, when I started talking to Tracy, we just had very similar situations happen. Obviously, like the father in the movie is a bit different than mine. Mine wasn't even there. So at least he was there.
He showed up for lunches.
I guess. Yeah. I don't know if that's much, if it's what's better or worse, but so it just felt really deep to me. Like I connected so much with it. And then my manager read it and he connected with it. And I feel like everyone who's seen it, who has like this like family trauma of any kind really connects. And even people who don't, they're like, there's been some reactions like, who would ever do this to their kid? I'm like, you clearly are blessed.
Yeah. Sadly too many to your point.
Sadly too many. I mean, anyone can be a parent. I mean, that's, if you want, and so it's just, that the script really, and I felt for Lily because even though I have gone through things with her, things like hers, she's so different than me in a lot of ways. And it was such a cool character to play that was outside of what I usually do, playing like goth girl, which I always love doing. But it was just I can't believe Tracy even saw that character from my previous work. It was because this movie has like very little, if any, like sex or, any of that kind of
Yeah.
like shocking kind of like, whatever it is. But it was just really cool. It was just
Yeah,
cool.
like I think to your point, a lot of times when you have like a complex character, and obviously Lily is, there's always like this, like the good angel, dark angel, kind of like there's always like what's
Yeah.
behind the curtain, where Lily was like this unbelievably emotionally resilient, uplifted person.
Yeah.
Like all these scenes where like you would expect like this absolute crash, from
Mhm.
her, but she just kept finding new ways to like pick herself back up, which
Yeah.
was like really inspiring. But also like how when you're performing and playing a character like that, there are just a lot of heavy scenes,
Yes.
where you really had to give,
Mhm.
emotionally. Like how do you do stuff like that? Was that taxing on you emotionally? As an actor, are you able to dip in and dip out of these characters? Do you have to kind of sit in it? If you're doing one of these scenes that maybe might require a few takes and things like
Mhm.
that, like what is that like? And how do you perform? Because it truly like a beautiful performance.
Thank
You
you.
really believe it. I'm always like, you want to hug your character.
Yeah.
But how do you do that? It's
I think every character is super different. I think with Lily, and also like I'm a new actor, so every time I do a project, I really learn so much about myself. And with Bob Trevino specifically, I think when I'm doing a character, for the 2 months that I'm somewhere like Kentucky or Louisiana or New Mexico, it's just I really do unintentionally start really dropping into the character even outside of being there, just because you're living in the place, you're there isolated, you're really in like the workflow. For this one specifically, I had to like really find the boundaries of like, because I like to like talk to everyone all the time, and that's totally great when it's just like a normal scene. But when you have to really like go deep and kind of
Mhm.
get into the darker parts, you have to really isolate. I remember I'd find like little like closets in all the locations to just like sit in.
sure.
I won't spoil it, but there was like one location that there was like a little phone booth, and it was literally like tiny, and I was just sitting there for like 20 minutes like listening to sad music because I had to do like a pretty intense scene. But after I'm done with the scene, it actually like leaves me. I think a lot of people sometimes can't get out of it, but it almost feels like an adrenaline like rush after, because you're like, okay, this was like on my mind. Like I really wanted to do this justice. And then I can just like, and then when I'm done, I'm like, okay, we did it, and if I'm proud of it, I mean, most of the time I don't even know what I did. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm like, at the point, I'm like, I hope it was fine. And
You're like I blacked out.
You literally black out. And I was like, I just trust the director to tell me if
Yeah.
it was good or not. But this one it did hit deep. And like, I feel like it was like a tough summer for me in general. And doing the movie was actually pretty therapeutic,
Okay.
I think. And,
Sure.
it was like untangling a lot of the stuff inside of me, and the whole crew and cast, like the things that you learn from people when you watch something like this, or you like are working on something like this. It's like, everyone was there with us. It was so sweet. It was really like the sweetest like experience of my life. It was very healing.
I was about to say, I'm sure it's like you probably didn't realize it or know that would happen going into
Yeah.
it, but like healing your younger self from like what you
Mhm.
experienced from your dad through
Yeah.
like playing this whole character and like building this bond with this guy. It's like I feel like that was incredibly healing for you just as like your inner child.
Absolutely. And speaking of the inner child, I feel like when I approached this role, I felt like it was like Lily is the inner child. There was something about her that was just so young, and like there's like this like sweet naivete, or I don't know how to say it, but just like it feels like because she has so much unresolved trauma, it's like the inner child is like the forefront of it.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like, in the scenes when she like balled it up so much and then she exploded, it was like, the kid inside like really was the motivating, or the thing I kept thinking of is like, what is the little Lily like thinking, and where does that like put her in it? And that's why like some of the scenes, like it's at the surface, it might not be very, emotional, but then when Lily is in it, it's stuff that she can't even like process consciously, and I think that that was part of my whole thing in general growing up.
Mhm.
So I didn't know what an inner child was. And then once I started doing therapy and like really like caring about myself, and I think
Yeah.
that's what Lily, that's her journey in this movie, then I really realized what that meant and how that informs everything that you do in your life. So I think this is like the first chapter of her vibes.
The scene, not to give too much away, where Lily's therapist cries.
Yes.
I saw an interview. You mentioned that your first therapy session.
Not my first, but I've had therapists cry.
You made a therapist cry.
I have.
Okay.
And it was very awkward.
Yeah, you're like,
Was that in the script originally, or
yes,
it
so
was?
it happened to Tracy as well.
Okay.
So we have like a lot, like, you know, and I didn't think this was a common thing. I thought like maybe this therapist was just like a fluke or something, and just like really like, but it happened with Tracy. And when we talked, I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I guess this happens to not just me. But yeah, it definitely happened pretty recently, actually.
wow.
Yeah, like a couple years ago.
How did you deal with something like that?
I was just like, ha ha.
Because in the movie,
You're
it's
like, and
great.
how does that make you feel?
And does that make you feel bad?
Yeah.
Like, how's your inner child feeling?
Yeah, how's your inner child? I think it was our first session ever too. So I was like, okay, you know, therapist, you gotta date. You know, I had this great therapist in New York who I love, and she was such a wonderful person in my life. And you know, when I moved to LA 6 years ago, I've still been, you know, dating therapists here and there. I haven't found, I mean, I have a good one that I like, but it's just like I haven't found the one that I'm like, oh, this is the person. And maybe this is the one that I have right now is the person, but it's like, it feels like dating. Literally.
No, it very much is. And I always remind people too, it's just like, you know, not all doctors are created equal, not all mechanics are created equal, or therapists. And, you know, like, because therapy has become in the best possible way so normalized.
Yeah.
Now there's kind of this increase of, you know, new therapists, and you have to weed through.
You gotta find someone who speaks your language too, who understands your life in a way.
Or also you do have to kind of check in with yourself, just like in dating, where, you know, we have a format, it's called Ask Nick. People call in and ask like relationship questions. I'm always like, I'm not a therapist, but here's what I think. And lots of times the people who call in are in therapy. I'm like, well, what does your therapist think about this? And sometimes it's just like, well, we've been talking about this for like 2 years. And it's just like, well, I'm not here to tell you not to like, but like, have you made progress? Or like, have you
changed?
Like, have they asked you this or that? And, you know, and like, sometimes you have to ask, like, where have I gotten with this topic? Or why haven't I explored something else? Because like, you know, it is nice to talk about your feelings, but like sometimes
you want the progress.
Yeah. When you have friends, you know, like, I used to be that person when I was going through heartbreaks where I would just like, I would find that one or two person in my life, that friend. It was usually like a woman friend. Sometimes it was like a coworker who like, there was a bit of a disconnect where I felt like I could just like unload my, you know, emotions on this. And they were just like, you know, excited to hear it. And they'd love to hear it. It'd be great. And then I would like exhaust them, and I would find someone else to like also, you know, but there was
it's just so funny that humans just do this. And we're always like, why are we so weird? I'm like, everyone does this.
Yeah, but like there's no progress. There's no like, you just kind of start, you forget. And I think sometimes even with therapy, if you don't have a good therapist, you can become connected to talking about the pain that you're experiencing with, or like that becomes familiar, especially like heartbreak, you know. I always tell people just be careful, because like sometimes missing them and wishing you were with them is that last part of the relationship you have to let go. Yeah. Because like, you know, when you really think it's over, that's the scary part. So you hold on to the pain because that's the thing that you have left. And like sometimes a therapist who maybe isn't as good as they could be, or you're not connecting with, can, you know, keep you in that sometimes.
Keep you in that. And because there's so many different kinds of therapy, and I've tried a lot of different ones. And, you know, it's like some things are just, there's some kind of therapy where you just talk and they say nothing. You know, they just talk therapy. There's like CBT. There's like so many different kinds. And, you know, it's interesting because people always just like a vague statement is just like, go to therapy. You know, and it's like, well, we got to educate people on like what kind of help they might want, or what works for them. And, you know, trust me, I've had some bad therapists. Okay. And I'm like, how are you?
Yeah.
A professional.
Yeah,
I'm scared. I'm scared, you know? So it's like, it's interesting because you know, it's people at the end of the day, you know, this human error and everything. And I think, you know, with this scene, it was so funny because when I read it, I was like, this is no way this is in the script, because this just happened to me. Like literally at the time, it must have been like very recently too. So I was just like, oh, this is the world, the universe telling me to do this movie, because it's like eerily like
similar
close.
To your life.
It's eerily close.
Through therapy, like what is something that you've kind of learned about yourself for the better? You know, where, you know, we've talked about obviously maybe the challenges of therapy, but what's something maybe that when you've kind of discovered the whole idea of your inner child, I mean, I learned that the first time I started in therapy when I was in COVID, and it was more like, I advocate for therapy, I'm doing okay, but like, you know, sitting at home, might as well.
Yeah, why not?
You know, I felt like generally pretty good. It wasn't like, you know, life is dark, you know. Yeah. And then the first first session, it was like, how many brothers and sisters do you have? Tell me about your parents, all this, and just kind of and I had a generally great childhood, but like just understanding the premise
Yeah.
of that, and why we do what we do, why we maybe sit in our emotions, why we act a certain way, and then as you get older, you do like, as I get older, at least, it's like that, what's that commercial? You grow up to be your parents and things like that, where it's just
Trust
like,
me, I know.
every once in a while, I'll have this like feeling where I'm like, when did I become my dad? And then you learn
I feel
about that, and then you became more self-aware about like your triggers and like how your parents reacted to you, and you're like, oh, holy shit, And
Yeah.
so, what did you learn about yourself through kind of diving into therapy?
Gosh, I learned so much. I think I used to do therapy when I was a kid, but it was I grew up in like a very like low income family, so it wasn't the best. It was kind of what my insurance could cover, and it did the job, I guess. But when I started doing therapy as an adult, I used to just think I was crazy, and I think that's or I'm the problem, and I think that a lot of people just assume that like, oh no, it's just me. Like I just attract this kind of like negativity in my life, and what I really started really deeply understanding is that all my reactions, it is my responsibility to like fix it,
Okay.
but it's not my fault.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really, and I remember like the first time, like the first few sessions of this, my therapist was like, there's like stages to this. You're gonna get really angry at the people you grew up with, and then you're gonna like, accept it, and then you're gonna forgive that, there's like, or that's like kind of like what happens. Like you start getting angry. You're like, why did you do this to me? And then I think through all these years, what I've realized is like we all are doing our best, but that doesn't mean that it was good.
Yeah.
It does not mean it was good. And accepting both those truths at the same time. Like I don't, I was raised by my mom, my grandma. They're incredibly great people. Love them. But I can also accept that like the childhood wasn't great.
Yeah.
I think I've gotten to a place where it's like I'm able to look at my dad and the relationship that he's able to have with his children and be like, that's the best that you can do. Like, you don't have a dad bone in your body, but like that you're doing the best you can, and like honestly, I just stopped expecting dad things from him, and like it's fine now.
Sometimes you imagine like a parent getting off the phone, and thinking, I was a good parent there, and the kid on the other end of the phone being like,
that was horrible.
What was that?
Yeah.
And like, sometimes there's a disconnect. And like, I've had to learn as I've gotten older, like the difference between, I think sometimes we're afraid to empathize with people we don't understand or we're in conflict with because we feel like empathizing with them is like justifying their actions.
Yeah.
But like sometimes you can learn how to empathize, not to justify, explain, or like let them off the hook, but at least like just understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
I think
just
it's
to know.
Healing to know that. It's like, and of course there's some people who it is an ill-intentioned malice in their heart, of course, and one can debate that, but it's good to understand that generationally things are just, everyone is just trying to do a little bit better than the last. And I always said that. I'm like, well, my mom grew up in Brazil and she was like in a tiny town and like, all these things. She was, it was bad, and then I grew up in New York. I lived in Jersey. I like went to a high school in America. Like, so for me, it was kind of like, I almost like, didn't even think of any of the problems because I was like, well, it's much better than how my mom grew up.
And it's also like, I bet your mom didn't get therapy at 18, 19, 20, 20, my mom didn't either. And so now I look at the issues that we're having and it's like, if you were able to have like gone back and gotten therapy and like healed this, then maybe we wouldn't be having these types of issues. But it's like, you have to get down to like their level and be like, okay, you haven't unlocked like this part of you yet. Yeah. And that's why like we have these issues.
Absolutely. My mom started doing therapy, I think like, must have been like 20 years ago at this point, and what's funny is also my mom had me at 21. Okay. So we grew up together. I'm an only child. She's 21 and really like, really trying to make it work with having a child and being like an immigrant. So I have so much empathy for her for that. And also I think like in Brazilian culture, it's always just like, I've always heard of like the stories that my grandma used to like beat my mom up, and like, ha ha ha, that's funny. And like, that's totally normal. And like all these, like culturally it was just completely different. So like trying to connect with my family, and some people like my mom will go to therapy and it's great. And then some other people, you just kind of have to realize that they are going to do what they want to do. Mm-hmm. There is just nothing you can do about it. And that's really the hard part is like letting go of like the control that you have with your family. And it's like, I can't help you if you don't want to be helped. And I just have to watch you kind of destroy everything. It's sad, but there's something, I'm 28 now and I know if I'm gonna call my mom about something, and my mom is a funny, amazing person. She's so hilarious. And if I call her, if I, need stitches or something, she's gonna freak out. She's not the one that I need to call first.
Yeah.
And no matter what, like I'm 28, like at this point, I know that like if there's like a problem like that, like she's gonna be screaming on the other side of the phone on the plane, and I can just like relax, So I know where to get calm. Like I know where to go. Like I have my friends, I have my family, and I know who's the strengths of everyone, and I don't expect anyone to do something that's radically different than what they are, because I'm only gonna get disappointed.
Right.
So I'm like, it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah. So much about this movie is like kind of that almost like a second storyline, almost, or theme, maybe is a better word for it, is like the found family,
Yeah.
And, sadly for people who don't have a healthy relationship with, their parents or relatives, obviously a lot of people in the LGBTQ community, like, will have to, feel like maybe their family isn't it for them. And what's that like for you? Do you have like a found family in LA? And who are those people that you've really connected with and made like a new community with?
Absolutely. So I have a really small family because my whole family's Brazilian except for me. And so my mom and my grandma, my aunt lived here in the US. So it was only 3 people out of like, cousins and siblings, not my siblings, but everyone. So we always had like chosen family. Like every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, it would be like 60 Brazilians who like can't go back home. And so even like the last Thanksgiving, I went to my mom's house and there were literally like 100 people there. And it's people that I grew up with who are like family. But we're not in Brazil, so we can't see our extended family. So we have like an extended family within the family, within Brazilians in like the New York area, right? And my mom was really far away, and my grandma moved back to Brazil. My aunt's in Florida, so I really, it's a very sparse family in the States. So for me, I have like my best friends. I have people that I really lean on, and every time I have like a family thing, it's like my friends also come because they mean that much. And my mom also has that too, where it's like we just value friendship a lot, and that's really important to me. And I think is not like instilled in everyone. Like people think that like I think can only be like really close with like their family or their partners, and they can't have this like really close like platonic bond, And so for me, I always grew up with people who weren't blood like related, but were like family, and I would call them Chia and she. So it was like aunt and uncle, and like and these are people that have known me my whole life too. So I think chosen family is, especially if their family's not here, if the family is not accepted. I know tons of people who like we celebrate holidays together because they might come to my family's holidays and be part of that because they don't have that. So I think chosen family is really important, and I think it's not valued as much. And for me, friendship has always been like number one.
What is like traits or qualities that you think keep a friendship like lasting? Like how do you think you've made these friendships last so long?
Oh gosh, a lot of my friends are like people I've been friends with for a long, long time. I think making fun of each other. I do that with my best friend Ben, who happens to be in the room right there. Hey, girl.
Hey.
He comes everywhere with me. I think having like laughing, being there, like loyalty. We all support each other to the max. We make fun of each other like in a playful way. We like keep it just. It's like family. It's like having siblings, and I never had a sibling. So that's why what I assume having a sibling is like, where it's like, no matter what, we're there for each other. And and it's really, I think, important, especially since I'm far away from everyone and I have such a small, tiny little family. It's all, crazy, great women. It's great to have like people that I've met through my life who stick around.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that stick around part is the important part, because, the thing about family, I have 10 siblings.
Okay. Opposite of me.
The opposite. And I joke, getting a dog taught me something. And that is the difference between unconditional love and unconditional like.
Ooh, okay.
Where I was like, my parents, they don't unconditionally like me,
Yeah, no.
like they unconditionally love me. Like,
like and love, very different.
Right? Like my dogs, everything I do is awesome to them. And my parents, it's just like, sometimes you're an asshole kind of thing, right? And that's the nice thing about family, is that you can just know, even though there's a disconnect, or maybe your guys are bumping personalities, that for a lot of people, not always, because obviously sometimes, like with Lily's character, it's very dark, but you feel that sense of like, I have a community, I have people. And with friendships, I think sometimes people struggle with, because especially like LA is a perfect example, a lot of transplants, a lot of people trying to make friends. People will start hanging out, they'll connect, they'll have fun. But then as you guys get to know each other, you see some of the cracks in
Yeah.
each other. People make bad decisions, people make mistakes, and then sometimes instead of sticking around, there's more of a like,
Yeah.
I don't want anything to do with this.
The
type
LA
of-
flakiness
Yeah.
happens to us all.
And then people really have to kind of go through those trial and error periods with friendships because, like, you know, I always say, like, everyone calls himself loyal. It's like one of
Yeah.
those things where people will say, you know, like, no one's like, yeah, I'm not loyal.
I'm a completely disloyal person.
Yeah.
But the truth is like a lot of people just aren't. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? A lot of people aren't like they're loyal to the degree that like as long as their needs are served in a relationship, they're good to go. But when things get tough, when someone's down bad, and maybe they're down bad because of their own choices and mistakes,
Yeah.
you know, but like the friends who may stick around, have a tough conversation, maybe. Maybe
Yeah.
it's like, hey, well, you know, you kind of
Friendship is all about tough conversations.
right, you know, so but like that stick
Tough
around
conversation.
part is always really important. And it's just like people love to call themselves loyal and
Yup.
and
We gotta put them to the loyalty test.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
gotta
when push
see what's
comes to
up.
shove.
We gotta test them.
yeah.
But I feel like I totally agree with you because I've been living in LA for 6 years and almost all my friends are people that I met in New York, which is also a very similar kind of vibe. You know, maybe like, you know, instead of Hollywood, it's more like fashion and like art, but it's like, you know, people are there for their own interest. And I grew up in New York and Jersey, and all my friends are people that I've known for so long, and I rarely have people, and I meet people that are great all the time, but having that like friendship where you can have tough conversations, you can like read your friends and just be like, you need to get it together, or I need to get it together. I'm in a horrible like place right now, and they're understanding, and it's not just like putting a band-aid over it, but like continue. It's like having a relationship. It's like almost. I mean, to me, my friendships are way deeper than the relationships I've had, just because they've been longer and they've been, I guess, like the trials that it's been tested more, you know, and I just think it's incredibly important because especially now people feel so lonely. And I mean, Lily's a great example of just like loneliness and just like people aren't interacting as much. They're not going outside as much. They're not like connecting with people. And it's been happening slowly for, you know, a while now. But it's just, I think a lot of people just feel really lonely, and it's causing a lot of problems actually, like major issues.
Yeah, 100%.
Major.
People need to get outside, say hi, put them, you know, get out of their comfort zone, interact with people. You know, people are always like, how do I meet new people? It's like, well, you have
to actually go outside.
You have to put
And I
yourself
feel
out
like
there.
myself that all the
Talk to
time.
people.
I'm like, I can't just be at home all day.
Yeah.
Like I have to, if I want to, you know, see the sunshine and talk to people, like I have to actually
Go
make
out the
an
front
effort.
door.
And making an effort is hard. I mean, you know, and I'm trying to get better at it. I think one of my New Year's resolutions this year is to like make sure that I'm not missing like my friends' birthdays for no reason, or, you know, making a concerted effort to be there for the people that I love, even if it's at like if it's harder to do, even if I have to make it work. You know what I mean? So I just think that that's really important because I would whatever I expect people to do for me, you know, I want to give back to the people I love. And it's, you know, it seems kind of silly to be like, I should be a good friend too. But it's just like, you know, I think that I just like in checking myself and being like, okay, like sometimes I'm an actor. Like that's, we all are like always like just thinking about ourselves. Like that's like really what you do all day. You're like, you know, it's a very crazy industry. And I don't want to like take up all the space in conversations and stuff, especially when I'm frustrated. It's like feels like I can ruminate on something over and over again. So just being a good friend and also just being honest. Like if something goes wrong, I just am like, listen, this is what is happening with me. It has nothing to do with you, or it does have something to do with you. And you know, I hope you forgive me, but I just need a second because I'm going crazy.
Yeah, and that's why like that subtlety in this movie kind of shows that kind of like that balance between, again, like the climate that we're in today, right?
Mhm.
Like the awareness of therapy. And again, there's that balance between understanding your childhood, understanding your trauma, understanding what happened and how that relates to you, but still being able to think outside of your needs, right? Because a lot of therapy is very reflective, right? A lot of you know, today's understanding, you know, the generational trauma and yada yada, which I think can be great and very beneficial, but like the risk sometimes is allowing that person almost to become a little selfish and self-centered and like only focusing on what has happened to them and why they've been wronged and why they've been victimized by the people around them.
Yeah.
And that can be both true and valid, but we have to remind ourselves that there's a whole world going on around us. You know, there's other people, our friends and strangers. And like that moment in the movie where Bob's talking to his wife and he's pointing out like Lily is this like, she's in the void screaming.
She's screaming out the
Yeah.
window. I love that line
Yeah.
because it's so sad.
No, it is sad. And he talks about how, she's getting no engagement and likes. And I think a lot of people in today's age would look at that and go, ew, weird. What's wrong with her?
What's wrong with her? Why is she saying hashtag best lunch ever? Like, that's so weird.
I mean, there's moments in that movie where Lily is just kind of like giving a little crazy. You
No,
know?
exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, stop posting so much. Why are you posting that?
That's the thing. You know what I mean? Is like, what I think about this movie is that it's like a really great character study on someone who is just, I think for me, I'm just like shrouded in like, I'm like so Gen Z. And like I have this like third voice in my head about the internet, like what looks cool, what doesn't. And I really actively try to like combat that. And I know a lot of people feel that way where it's like, you just feel like you're just watched and judged for everything. And with Lily, she's such a pure heart that like, when you see someone be so vulnerable, it's so like affecting, especially now, I think, because we're so used to not wanting to cringe, not wanting to feel like empathy for people that like maybe we don't understand where they're coming from. And so this character was really just so interesting to me because, there's so many people like her who are just like hungry for any kind of friendship and really lonely. And, and people might make fun of her. Like, I feel like, I think what really is uncomfortable about it is that people might see themselves kind of in her and also in the people that are affecting her. You know what I mean? It's like, it feels like, you kind of have to be in your head and be like, this person is clearly like traumatized and wanting to have people around her. But, I'm not used to seeing someone so, excited and earnest and all this stuff. And it's like, it's almost like a little bit of like, it's very, I always say it confronts you with it. And I totally agree with you. And I think Lily just like, for me, is a very good representation of like the people that we ignore, the people that don't matter, quote unquote, on the internet. We're like following influencers and people who are like living this like really fabulous life and, all this stuff. And then there's this girl who's like, she's not doing like a get ready with me. She's not like, she has no idea about the algorithm or it's on Facebook. It's like not even supposed to be, it's supposed to be for like family and friends, It's like she genuinely just wants family and friends and it's so sweet. And I think it's also people just don't think that way. I just think that they're ashamed of feeling like they want people and to admit that they don't have people around them.
Yeah.
If you're running a business, you know that every time you miss a call, you're leaving money on the table. And when every customer conversation matters, you need a phone system that keeps up with you and helps you stay connected. That's why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system that streamlines and scales your customer communications. It works through an app on your phone or computer, so no more carrying 2 phone lines or using a landline. With Open Phone, your team can share one number and collaborate on customer calls and texts like a shared inbox. That way, any teammate can pick up right where that last person left off, keeping response times faster than ever. Plus, with AI-powered call transcripts and summaries, you'll be able to automate follow-ups, ensuring that you'll never miss a customer interaction again. So, whether you're a one-person operation drowning in calls and texts, or have a large team that needs better collaboration tools, Open Phone is a no-brainer. See why over 50,000 businesses trust Open Phone to manage their business calls and texts. Open Phone is offering my listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/VIALL. That's openphone.com/VIALL. One more time, that's openphone.com/VIALL. And if you have existing numbers with another service, Open Phone will port them over at no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Every now and then, we're reminded of those healthy resolutions we've made over the years to lose weight, exercise more, eating better. But a goal without a plan is a plan to fail. And that's where Prolong's 5-day program gives you the tool to put your health goals into action with a science-backed plan that makes it easy to stay focused and achieve those real results.
Researched and developed for decades at USC's Longevity Institute and backed by leading U.S. medical centers, Prolong helps support healthy blood sugar, enhanced skin appearance, fat loss, and improved energy and focus post-fast.
Prolong's fasting mimicking diet is a revolutionary plant-based nutrition program that nourishes the body while making cells believe they're fasting. It all starts with their 5-day program, snacks, soups, and beverages designed to keep your body in a fasting state. No guesswork or planning required. 3 consecutive cycles of Prolong have been shown to reduce your biological age score by an average of 2.5 years and your waist circumference by 1.5 inches.
To help you kickstart a health plan that truly works, Prolon is offering the Viall Files listeners 15% off site-wide plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day nutrition program. Just visit prolonlife.com/VIALL. That's PROLONLIFE.com/VIALL to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift, prolonlife.com/VIALL. I mean, you started in this industry modeling,
Yes.
correct? I moved to New York at 15 to pursue a modeling career, and
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing but like trauma and bad
Mm-hmm.
memories about that time in my life. How do you look back at that time in your life?
Well, I think for me, I started modeling when I was 16, and I
Yeah.
worked with a lot of people that I knew. So I would like
Oh, okay.
always at first. And so at first it was like, I did editorials with my friend Petra Collins, who's like a great artist, and we would do like pictures of me in like a bedroom, like it was a very specific look, and it was always for like art magazines and stuff. So that was always really cool because it was friends, and I always shot with friends. I met people, and then when I started doing it professionally, I was like 18 or so. I never had like a really horrible experience. Like I never, even though I modeled for American Apparel, which had like that whole like, drama, which never affected me or anything. But the thing that I think was really hard for me was that I felt like I just wasn't healed from. I was 18, freshly 18, just got out of my mom's house, all alone, being flown out to like Germany to go do ecom and all that, and I would go every day to like go do, and I just was like alone with my thoughts for like the first time in my life. Like there was no mom, there was no grandma. There was no, like, I was alone, and I had to be my own adult. So I think that was really hard for me. I think I always was like freaking out for no reason. I mean, I was also 18, so I was like super irresponsible. Like there'd be times where I like lose my wallet in like London, you know what I mean? Then everyone has to like try to help me get back home. And it was fun. It was like silly. Like I was like partying and like, so it was really fun. And being a plus size model was really cool because it felt like I was around people that understood, and there wasn't like that typical like kind of pressure of like obviously being really thin or being particularly tall or all these like kind of like nitpicks that straight size models do. Like for me, I was like modeling for like Target and like doing just like it was pretty fun, and I met really good people. And I think for me at the end, towards the end of my modeling career, when I was like 21, I just was kind of frustrated. I was just like, I'm kind of sick of just doing photos because I was also doing a lot of like video stuff. Like I had like a little Vice show on with Broadly, and I did like a Teen Vogue thing. And I was like, I really just want, like, I feel like I've done enough of this, and I feel like kind of slowing down. I don't feel like fulfilled by this anymore. And I always wanted to be an actor. So I was like, I think it's time for me to invest in myself and try it out.
And I mean,
it worked, thank God.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it is taking off. And it is.
I had no other plan. So I was really like, it's either this or, I don't know, cashier at the New Jersey ShopRite.
When Euphoria really like took off and things exploded, what was that like? Just kind of to go from more of a normal life as, working actor to ultra famous and lovable, and everyone's just like fascinated with you. Was there a moment where like one day you went to bed, the next day it felt like you stepped outside? And
what's funny is it slowly started in the beginning, and I remember Hunter and I were having like breakfast somewhere. This is when the trailer came out.
Oh, wow.
And the waitress was like, oh, I saw you guys' trailer for your new HBO show. And we like freaked out. We were like, it's out. Like, what's funny is that like it went by so fast that it was such a whirlwind. I don't think I was even like processing what was happening. And after like week 4 of it being out, I was like, okay, like this is getting like, I'm like actually like going, like people are really stopping me for on the street. And it's like really like, and at the time I had my short hair. I like looked like my character. Sometimes if I, don't look like Kat, like I can get away with a lot. And I also like wore my actual glasses in the show. So I had to like change those because I just literally looked like I was walking around in costume.
Like, ooh, hindsight's 2020, not a good idea.
Yeah, not a great idea. But it was amazing. I think like I just didn't. I expected it to do well because I was like, it's Zendaya, it's like kids, like like it's like we're all like doing like it just felt like new and fresh, and like no one has ever done that. And I loved like shows like Skins, like Degrassi, and like all these like teen shows, like whatever level. There's like the dirtier ones and like the kind of more like polished ones. But I always loved them. So it was really fun to be part of like the generation's like teen show that like really depicted this generation. And I was hoping for that. I was like the whole time I was like, I want this to be like Skins. I want this to be like our dirty, like salacious, like teen drama that like every like kid wants to watch, and it worked.
It really was that.
Exactly that, right?
And it really and that's the thing. It's just like, to your point, what's cool about shows like that or films or movies that, kind of encapsulate an era, if you will, is that they do stand the test of time. You know, we'll go back and watch old 80s movies or 90s movies, or like I grew up, when Can't Hardly Wait came on when I was in high school. And like those, especially at least for the people who grew up with them, they always hold a special place in your heart, right? And so like Euphoria, for a lot of people, but especially people who connected with that era, it will live on in ways that I think other shows or films don't. And it's
incredible.
Cool thing,
I mean, it's a privilege to have in your career, especially like the first big. I mean, I had like a couple of things that I did before, but it was very like small. To have that happen really early is like, I mean, that's like what you want. You can make so much stuff like, and people can like it, but like who's watching it? And Euphoria really just popped off in a way, and I didn't expect it to be like that at all. I was like, okay, this is really cool. And it also popped off in a way that was really fun. Like, it was just like, I felt like it was merging my life of like fashion and like acting. And it was really cool because I got to like put my little outfits on and like, and I was really young. So like, of course I was like always like insecure and like, but overall it was really cool. And I think like it just went so fast that I didn't really process it until I really had time to be like, oh my God, I was like, that was insane. That was so cool.
You did play a very interesting and like sexual, powerful character. What were your original thoughts of Kat?
Oh my gosh, when I read Kat, I remember I read it, I had no context to it. And I was like, wait a second, this is me. I go, wait a second. Did they just write about my life? And I was like, I remember they had this like open call that was like thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And so I had an acting agent at the time and I got the audition through that. But like my friends were all auditioning for it too. And I was like, you guys have never acted? Like, what do you mean? So I'd be like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? And like, it like made me sick how much I wanted it. And thankfully it worked out. But it literally like, it was months of me auditioning and just being like, please, you guys have to hear me out. And I mean, with Kat's like sexuality, it just felt like really real. I mean, it's like the internet and like exploring sexuality through the internet. It's like obviously how people are doing it these days at first, And again, it's like that loneliness thing where it's like you're trying to feel connection and doing contemporary things like this where it involves the internet is a lot of the things I do involve, a lot of the movies I've shot that aren't even out involves the internet a lot. But it's just like contemporary things that reflect how people feel without it feeling like corny is really, I think, important because people like hate seeing phones in movies and shows and stuff. But I'm like, that's just the reality. Like we can't make a project about 2020 without an iPhone, It's like, it has to be part of it. So it's cool to find ways to make it work and cinematically.
The micro penis is something that will live in my head forever.
Me too.
Like, I don't think I'll ever get that.
I know. And I told them not to show me until we were shooting.
That is so
I was like,
smart.
unless you guys are literally rolling, don't show me. Because I wanted to be like genuinely surprised. So the actor was like upstairs in like a fake little set that they made in like a green room. And I had like a earpiece so I could just hear him breathing. And he was amping up. He's great. It went on. I was literally like, I believe that is what is in the show.
Yeah.
It was great.
That is all of our reactions.
We had a lot of prosthetic penises. A lot.
Did anyone come out and say that their penis was real or was...
I don't think anyone's penis... I think, I mean, if you want to get technical, I think if there's an erection, I think you have to have a prosthetic penis. I think if it's not that, I think you don't have to. But I asked this question so many times. I'm like,
is that real?
And I have had no answer. I'm like, maybe someone here can answer this for me. Is it like the union law that like if it's erect, you have to have a prosthetic penis, or if you know what I mean?
Right?
I want to know. I want to know because everyone did have a prosthetic penis. I'm pretty sure.
I will say. It's a very loaded question for men.
It is.
There's no way to answer that without either being somewhat douchey, weird, or coming across like you're there's always like, are you hiding something or are you showing? There's just no way.
Trap.
It's an absolute trap. It's an absolute trap. So it's just like
you just can't. You don't even mention it. You just like. I do wonder like if you like. I don't know if the actors got to like choose. You know what I mean? Like that's interesting for me. Like I want to know like what the process is. Like is it like the character or is it like an ego thing?
Yeah. I feel like I saw an interview of Jacob being like,
you chose.
He was like, I went in and
it was a selection.
Yeah.
So there was a huge selection and I picked the right one.
But your point is, are they choosing it because it represents them or or are they choosing
The
it because
character.
it's like, well, I would like to play something different today?
Yeah. I know.
you
Right? And that's so interesting. You'll never know. We will never know.
You never know. You had decided to leave Euphoria and talked about how you just felt like Kat, the character, her story was told.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of that from actors, obviously, regardless of the success of the show, and then sometimes as fans, we will watch shows where, the whole jumping the shark, idea, or like, sometimes like for me, it's just like Dexter ended after season 4,
Right.
it's like,
Yeah.
we
don't talk about the rest. Yeah. Okay.
and, but for you to decide, regardless of what is going to happen with Euphoria, for you to decide that must have been a difficult choice. And like, how did you make that decision, and how have you felt about it since then?
Yeah, I think it was very mutual. So it wasn't just like my choice. I think after having a lot of conversation and after season 2, I think there was just nowhere to go, and I think instead of me kind of like lingering around for 9 months,
Sure.
I think it was best for, both of us that we just kind of ended it there,
Okay.
and I think for me, I mean, of course it's hard. I'm like, I love Euphoria. I love Kat. Like, Kat means the world to me. I mean, I spent so many years like pouring everything into her. But it's like, you don't want to ruin a good thing. I think and it was a mutual decision. It was absolutely not just me. So it was like, everyone decided that this was, there was nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard, obviously,
Yeah.
because I'm like, what am I going to do? But again, with acting and like, things happen all the time, and you just have to have thick skin and just like make the right decisions for you and your career. And it was hard. I was really young, and it was just, it was tough. Obviously, like there was a lot of like, discourse about it that wasn't true. And I'm a person who just kind of like lets everything kind of happen because
Was there anything in particular that you read that felt the most kind of offensive or egregious?
there was a couple. I think most of it. I mean, people just. It's a popular show, so people like took it out of
Sure.
they kind of. There wasn't like I never like walked off set. There was never anything like that. Like that was like a whole thing. And she like I did all this, and I was like I absolutely never did that. You could ask like the hundreds of people that were there every day.
No, fan theories.
Fan theories are crazy, and most of the time they're not right, but sometimes they are. Sometimes they are. Sometimes
Well,
yeah. Sometimes I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah, well, you give them 100 guesses sometimes.
Then at one point you got to guess right.
And I think it's sometimes fans. I always remind myself that fan is short for fanatic.
Exactly.
Not that I don't. You want to appreciate fans, but you also, and that's why it's important for at least Natalie and I are always kind of talking, where it's like, listen, like we don't. It's not our business.
Yeah.
Type of thing, because like,
and that's tough.
you want to have that relationship, but you want to give them the freedom to be fans, because part of being a fan is just like talking with your friends and having these theories, right?
It's just fun to talk.
Exactly. And
they don't even
sometimes-
believe it half the
right?
time. It's
And
just
like
fun.
they're not, it's like that classic case of someone like writes something meaning your comments, and then like you decided for whatever reason to like it or respond whatever reason, and they're like, oh my god, I'm just kidding, I love you, you're the best. And
That
like,
literally has happened to me before. That's why I stopped. I'm like,
Yeah.
at this point, respect to everyone who like comments back and like claps back and everything. I have never been that girl.
it's
In fact, I just let it like kind of go into its own world and then fizzle out. Because what am I going to do? All I'm going to do is just fuel. They're not going to listen to me. They're not going to like believe me if I say something, So it's just like, I just
they're
let people
just being
talk.
fans.
They're being fans.
That's
and
the
also,
thing.
I can't read it. That's like one thing too, is a big thing. I think that's when Euphoria came out, I was so used to being on the internet. I was like always like telling everyone like everything I was doing, like always like talking to camera, like just always like filling people in. And I think like my biggest sacrifice as an actor is that I don't use the internet for fun anymore, really. I mean, obviously, like I scroll through TikTok and do that,
Right.
but I don't like post for like a lot of fun most of the time. I just feel like it's not the same being an actor who's like in a show that's popular. Also, like it's so internet, But I'll take it. I'm getting older. I'm fine.
Who from the cast have you stayed closest with?
Well, I saw Hunter the other day. I saw Maud the other day. Sydney came to come see my play. So I mean, they're all so busy. I mean, I've been
it
out of
sounds
town
like
for
they're
like
still-
8 months. So
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
whenever we're in town, we always try
Try
to
to link
see
up.
each other. And they came to support the play, which was really sweet. It was very
No,
sweet.
that is nice.
Yeah.
Sensitive subject. Angus Cloud's
Yes.
death. How obviously we saw that affect the world. How did that affect cast and you personally? I mean,
Yeah. Gosh, it's so hard for me to talk about
I
Angus.
know. I'm sure. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's tragic. I don't think I've ever been through anything like that. And I think we all were just really affected by it. And I mean, it just, I haven't lost a lot of people, thank God. And so this was like just, I was actually in Kentucky at the time, so I was very isolated when I heard it, and it was just a great shame. Angus was the coolest guy, the craziest dude. Like literally, the amount of stories. I just love that I can cherish those moments. And I think about him a lot, and I just, it's
Such
tragedy.
a unique person, like you said.
Oh my gosh,
like his story was fascinating. Just
he was incredible. Like he was a complete like sweetheart, like character. Like it's just it's really, really tragic. It's just he's so young, and it was hard.
Okay, you guys, for everyone who wants to know, are you DTF? Down to farm, that is? That's right. Farmer Wants a Wife is back on Fox with 4 hot new farmers looking for the love of their lives. But are these ladies ready to take on the farm life? And dating one woman has its challenges, but juggling 5, these farmers are going to have their hands full. Don't miss the all-new season of Farmer Wants a Wife Thursday on Fox.
Everyone wants healthy hair, Everyone is striving to have the healthiest hair possible.
Preach.
And one way to get there is whey.
Some would say the only way.
Is whey.
Yeah.
They truly have so many amazing products. I use so many of theirs, and I swear by it. The detox shampoo is perfect for those days that maybe you haven't washed your hair in a couple days. Maybe you've been using a lot of product. You have some product buildup in there, some hairspray, some hair gel, whatever it may be. The detox shampoo.
I know that truth.
The detox shampoo is perfect to get all that out of there. The scalp serum balances and hydrates the scalp. It soothes irritation and keeps your hair stronger and fuller throughout a healthy, hydrated, balanced scalp. They also have a scalp and body scrub that when I tell you, I have gone through 95 of these. I mean it. It is so good. It smells so delicious, and you can feel it working. It's gentle sugar crystals. Scrub away buildup while softening and balancing your skin's moisture level. My skin is so soft from the scalp and body scrub from Whey. The way to a healthy scalp starts here. Go to THEOUAI.com and use code VIALL for 15% off any product. That's theway.com. Code VIALL.
You like to cook?
I do like to cook.
I love to cook.
Yeah.
I'm the cooker in the family.
Okay.
She's my sous
chef. I like to cook, but I don't like to clean. That's my problem.
I don't like either.
I love to cook. I'll cook if someone else cleans.
Okay.
If everyone cleans up all,
I would love that. So we do a good job of separating chores. So,
I love that. It's always my problem when I'm booed up.
Yeah, I've learned.
It's like 90% of the relationship is chores.
Young me was like, love is enough, and I can just power through anything.
Dishwasher.
Even, it's just like you can have a completely different menu, and we can have different tastes and everything.
No.
But if we love each other enough,
Yeah.
and like being in a relationship with Natalie more than anything has taught me, just like relationships are hard enough. Every day can't be a battle. Picking what you want to eat, who does what, and so like I'm allergic to laundry. Natalie loves it. Natalie's allergic to doing dishes. I can do dishes. I love to cook. I won't even let her cook sometimes.
I don't let anyone cook.
I'm more like, you're doing it wrong.
Same.
Move.
I grew up in a culinary family. My mom's a chef and my aunt's a chef, and I didn't really know how to cook until a few years ago. So as soon as that.
What's your favorite? Yeah, do you have like a go-to?
Recently, I make a really good chicken thigh. Recently, I've been really doing a really good chicken thigh.
I love a thigh because most people go breast.
No,
and it's just like do dark meat.
Yeah,
we gotta do bone in, skin on, thigh. You gotta sear it, and then you take it out, and then you make like a little sauce, put it in the oven. You do a little lemon, some capers, some anchovies, maybe.
Oh my god!
Yeah, why not?
Oh my god,
it's so yummy. I also made a yummy like a mushroom gravy on something, but it was good. I love to make like I just like love to cook. So if I see something that I like, I make a really good salmon too.
Is it easy for you to cook for like one person, or are you like, guys, I'm cooking, everyone come over?
I need everyone to come. I will not cook for myself. I literally can't do it. I just cannot do it. I'd rather cook for other people and myself than I can't make myself a thing.
It is true. I mean, like when I was, in my single days, and there was a lot of years. I was like the single serving guy, I'd go to the grocery store every day and I'd find like things that like would make sense. Like that's when I got into that's when I discovered the joy of an English muffin.
Ooh,
because I could also like make a burger.
Yes.
And then use it as a bun.
Yes.
But like, before as a single serving guy, if you just buy like a bag of buns, like you use one bun and it goes bad, but an English muffin you can put in the fridge, it keeps a little longer. And
That's
I would have all
right.
these like single
even freeze
serving
it.
tricks. Yeah, like, and it was just like, but also kind of depressing that I figured out how to like
You gotta make it look pretty at least.
sustainably like
You gotta do a
shop
little
for
herb on the
myself.
top.
Yeah.
I always like if I make something really ugly, I just put a little herb on, like some herbs, just a little chive on the top.
So you're like it has to like plate.
I like a good
perfectly.
plate.
So do I. I always feel bad because I like try to plate my 13-month-old daughters like perfectly,
Aw,
and
but
she's
then
like
you-
screaming, crying, and I'm like,
Yeah.
just honey, if I can just get this perfectly,
And just like mashing it with her
Yeah,
hands.
yeah.
I love that. That's so cute.
Yeah.
It's a thought that counts.
It is. She doesn't understand yet.
She doesn't understand yet, but she will.
She will. I've taken a photo of every one of her meals, and she'll be like,
It's like a
"Thanks,
cute little
Mom."
plate.
They're
for her.
very, they're definitely
Her
girl
hands
dinners,
like
for
in
sure.
all of them, like
I love a girl
going
dinner.
for something in all the pictures. It's really cute.
So cute. Speaking of girl, when I was in New York and I was doing a play every night, so I would come home at like 9 and I would literally just eat like pickles and like cheese and salami with crackers like for dinner
A
every night.
girl
'Cause I literally was the girliest dinner and like some fruit and like just eating every like pickled thing that there
Nuts,
is in the fridge.
random, yeah.
Because it's just like I would just come home so late and I'm just like I'm like 90% sodium at the moment. Like I could feel myself just like full of salt. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just like how much salami
Like,
and
wow,
cheese
I am
and
inflamed.
yeah,
Perfect.
like, I was like, maybe girl dinner, maybe I should switch it up a little bit. But that thankfully now I'm back in my kitchen and I can make like, rounded, balanced meals. But
Do you have like a go-to meal? You do.
yes, I either
Where are
do
we
like a
going?
sundubu, like a Korean soup. I do that a lot. I love Chinese food.
Mm.
I love like a good kung pao
You
chicken.
ever been to Din Tai
Do you-
Fung?
I love Din Tai Fung.
What's your order?
I like the soup dumplings. I'll get the like broccoli and garlic sauce. That's yum yums. And then I'll have like rice. I usually just like really like the dumplings.
The dumplings.
I'll just get like
Dumplings are so good,
all the
yeah.
different, the pan fried ones, the steamed ones. I'll
Mhm.
take it all.
The rice cakes. You ever had the rice
I
cakes?
love a rice cake.
Mm.
I was just thinking about rice cakes the other day. I was like, I need to go to H Mart and just get some rice cake.
Before we started recording, we were talking about our daughter, and you mentioned, "Oh, I just want a baby."
I
Is
want a
that-
baby!
Is that something that in the future you hope?
Oh yes, I know. I every time someone has a baby, my first reaction is like, I want one too. Like, and I just like, I feel like I grew up as an only child. I am the baby of the family, and I'm nearly 30. So like, I had never really interacted with like a lot of kids growing up or in general, and so I never really thought about having kids until recently. And I think also everyone in my family has had a baby before 21.
Yeah.
So I'm already like, I'm not gonna say I'm late. But like everyone wanted me to not continue that.
It's like being from the South.
Yeah,
And
like no one's like
yeah.
no one was like you should have a baby. Like no one's been
Yeah.
pressuring me to have a baby. This is all me.
Okay,
Like
okay.
people are like, okay, my mom was like, you should, yeah, but maybe you need a relationship
so she's
first.
not like, I want a grandbaby.
She
give me a
does, but
grand-"
she's just
okay.
like, you need to, she's like, you gotta wait for the right one,
Yeah.
and like don't rush it. But I want a baby in like 4 or 5 years.
What love and dating relationships are we in a season of like independence? Are we
We're in the
dating
single
around?
era.
We're in a single era.
We are in a single era.
Do we love
yeah.
that? We're
We
enjoying
like it. We like it. I think I saw a psychic. I didn't see a psychic. A psychic was at a party.
Psychic saw me.
A psychic saw me. He asked for me specifically. I saw a psychic last year, and he told me that I wasn't gonna find love in 2024.
Oh.
So I'm like, well, maybe in 2025.
Okay.
And
We'll
then
see.
what did he say?
Well, no, that was it.
Okay.
Oh.
That
Thanks
was
for
it.
your help.
That's it. That's all you get.
You got to put another quarter in.
Yeah, it's just not this year. I'm like, okay, I'll take it. So I actually really live my life by that, even though it's kind of great. I'm like, I think I'm taking a break from dating for a second.
Our psychics, like they make me nervous.
They
Like,
make me nervous,
I
yeah.
do not want to know
Right.
when I'm going to die.
They're not going to tell you that, but yes.
And maybe they would, but like, yeah, there's something about psychics where it's just like I don't. You
I don't. I
Actively?
happen
No.
to have seen a psychic at a party.
okay?
Okay.
I have been to a psychic here and there, but I'm also wary of like the LA of it all. Like
Yeah.
I'm very like I understand the spirit healers and the and the crystals and Malibu and stuff. I get it. I think it's fun, but I take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
It's not like
Yeah.
what I
Nick's sister saw one, and she said that the psychic said the brother closest to you is going to have twins, and that's Nick. And I was like, oh,
when are the twins happening,
Oh,
baby?
my God. Okay.
My sister has twins. Her sister has twins. I still don't know how twins work.
Is it genetic?
I think it skips
so.
generations. So
But
it's
I don't
like
think it has
skips one
anything to do with the
generation and then-
guy, right? Because
Maybe. What
But
chromosomes make it?
Well, I feel like y'all.
Because they would have to.
well, either like an
there'd
egg
be, there'd be
split.
two sperms. And
Well, yeah, but usually there's a lot of those.
Yeah,
There's
but to make
trillions.
it up all the way up, to the egg.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yet there either has to be one egg or one. I don't know, but
There can be
I've
two
never
eggs.
really had anyone
That's
explain this
fraternal.
to me.
Science podcast.
Fraternal
if y'all
twins
were
are two
curious.
different eggs, correct? I might be wrong. But that's what makes it's not identical. So I guess both eggs.
Yeah, there has
What's
to be two.
crazy is my sister has twins, and they are so identical that their like fingerprint DNA is the same.
Those are fascinating. to me.
Crazy.
Imagine just having like a part of you in the world, and you're
That's
just
like the exact same.
yeah, and like they're just finishing each other's sentences, and like
Yeah.
that sounds so wonderful. Like you'll never like, but it also is like really sad because it's like you have like this person that is like so part of you that like if you guys are not together, it's like. You know, I've heard of like twins knowing when the other one is like hurt if they're not in the same place. It's like twins are. We need to study that. Science, get on it.
Honestly, we
Science,
should
get on it.
Get on it.
What's in your single era?
Yes.
Having dated before, I'm assuming.
Yes, I have.
What's something that you've through previous experiences have learned that maybe things have lacked that you
Yes.
really are looking for in your whenever that happens for you next? And what's on something that while things maybe didn't work out in the past with whoever, you still really enjoyed and appreciate that aspect of the relationship that you hope to carry into your next relationship?
Great question. I think what I learned about myself is that I'm a particular kind of girl, and I'm not for everyone. You know what I mean? And not in a bad way, but just like my life is just very. I think a lot of people don't really like that. They don't like a woman who's like very like loud and like takes up a lot of space. And I just inherently do that because I grew up with a lot of women who do that. So like
Mhm.
even as a kid, I was just like, I never lived under like the scrutiny of like the
Inside
patriarchy
voice.
in that phase. Yeah, like where it's like, oh
yeah.
yeah, like, you have to be small, like I mean, like
Yeah.
you have to like be like quiet or anything. So I think a lot of people don't like that. And I don't take it personally when they don't. And also I need someone who's like who's gonna take care of me because I take care of a lot of people in a lot of ways, and I like really need like someone who's gonna really listen to me and be there for me. I am by no means like submissive wife vibes, you know what I mean? So it's like, some people and I've also learned with dating is I just don't take it personal anymore. I'm just like this I'm just like this is not working out. It's not because of me. I used to always blame me.
When did you learn that? Because that's like a huge step in like just adult life.
Yeah, recently, honestly,
Okay.
like the past couple of years, it's just been so. And of course, I get into a trap. I'm like, whoa, like what happened
Yeah.
there? But then I'm like, wait, like did I even like that person? Like I also learned, do I want someone to like me or do I like them? Do you know what I mean? There's, like,
That's such a
difference.
huge step. I mean, I'll ask people all the time. They'll call if I have a friend who's asking or someone calls in. They'll be like, I want to talk to you about this. And I'm like, well, what do you like about how they make you feel? It's like, it's always my favorite question.
Yeah.
Because sometimes or often there's always like this,
Well,
I never thought about how they make me feel. I was just
Yeah.
like more thought about like why haven't they texted me back, or
Yeah.
why aren't they calling, or like why are they being flaky on me, like why are they acting this way? And then
Yeah.
immediately there's a thought of like I'm doing something wrong.
right.
What could I do differently?
Mhm.
And things like that. But like it was funny that you just said not to moments ago where you realize that you're not for everyone.
No.
And like to me, like that again, another like huge pivotal, like at least for me, was that like no one is, by the way.
yeah, no, I'm saying like I'm hoping not. I'm like the one person who
Like,
could
in
like
the bio for everybody. Like
I'm here for everyone will love me. I'm like, yeah, no.
But that's the person who is people pleasing, who hasn't really realized who they are
Exactly.
as a person, and not even comfortable to be that person. You have to allow, whether it's dating, whether it's friendship, whether it's just like being an adult in society, is having the guts to be who you are
Yeah.
and have people not like you. You know?
And it's so freeing.
Yeah.
And I always admired that because when I was younger, I would just get so caught up in like, what did I do wrong? And I'm like, probably a lot of stuff, but it just like it doesn't really matter. It's like
Or not wrong. You just did something and it just
wasn't for the
Someone
wasn't for
person.
them.
Like,
They
yeah.
didn't, they don't vibe with you. Like there's so many people out there who are just like not my cup of tea, and
Exactly.
that's totally fine.
And
but
there's someone else is
Mhm.
like, like, wow, this is like my dream person. And I also think a lot of people think that they know who I am, and then they find out that that's not who I am. You know what I mean? Like people can, and I do that too. Like I project personalities on people. And I think I also had to stop doing that, where it's like you just start like kind of making these like love stories in your head, and I'm like, I'm getting to a point in my life where I'm just tired. I don't want to do all that anymore.
Do you find it to be easy or more difficult to date in the industry or outside of the industry?
I have never really dated anyone in the industry. Just never happened. I think outside I've dated a lot of people who are creative, but they're not like actors. I definitely, that's not usually what I go for. But I'm open to anything, really. I really am open to anyone who is like kind and actually wants to like talk to me and like hang out with me and spend time with me and like communicate. I dated women most of my life, so I'm like the communication has always been really big. And so it's just for me, it's a lot. It's like, especially now I'm dating like a little bit more seriously. Like I'm not just like, oh, this is just like to be together. It's like now it's more like, what do I want? I'm like, I want a baby in 5 years. It's kind of getting, I'm getting older. Like this is just not as fun anymore when it's just like crazy. Like
You feel like you have like a timeline over your head, or
no, honestly, no. But it's more of like a way to know. Like sometimes I just don't know what I want, and I'll like meet someone. I'm like, okay, but this person's not really that. But then it could be this. I'm just like, actually, I do know what I want, and I just have to be like confident enough to just be like, this is like I do want
and it's,
commitment.
It's tough, right? Like like me, younger me was more like what I wanted was somebody, and I wanted somebody who wanted me. And that was kind of the baseline.
That,
and I
me
think
too.
it is for most people.
Like anyone who wants to be with me, sure.
Yeah, and then you get older and you have relationships and heartbreak, you break up, and then that transitional period of knowing what you want for yourself, knowing, and then what you want to give to someone else, and then having the patience to wait around for it can suck.
Yeah,
but like
the patience is hard.
Yeah,
but it's also like once you're in the relationship, it's so much work. And it's not like you think it's like relationships are just gonna like save you, and it's then. I was in a serious relationship for 3 years and it was great. And then after, it was, still great. It was just either single or in a relationship. It's like you kind of fantasize about the opposite of it. You're like, oh, if I was single, like I wouldn't have this. Or like if if I was in a relationship, I'll have someone to go with me. But it's like, I just kind of like don't even think about it anymore in that way because I just know that I'm getting pickier as I get older and more intentional with stuff. And I never even knew what I liked. Like I would just like, if someone was like showed interest in me, I'd be like, hype, I'm like, yeah, it's like for a long time in my life. And now it's a little bit more, a little more discernment in that.
Yeah, I had to figure out, there was a point before I met Natalie where when I was in my 20s, it was, my parents were good role models, but sometimes the problem I have with good role models is like my parents told me love is important and you have to fight for it. So it was like, oh, okay, well then I'll just fight for this, kind of thing, but
sometimes it's
like I didn't really want to do, didn't need to do that. So then I got older and I was like, okay, I finally figured out who I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and then took some risks and had did reality TV, and that was all kind of weird. But then, so then I had this stint of reality TV in this controlled environment where they almost like make you feel like you're young again, and it's all about these emotions. And then I was dating, it was more like, I honestly, like there was a point where in my 30s, I was honestly worried, and I thought to myself, do I just need to pick somebody?
Yeah.
Do you'll do,
anybody.
Like we get along.
Yeah.
I guess.
This could work.
You seem nice enough.
Yeah.
You're obviously beautiful, but like there's a part of me was like, am I too cynical? Am I looking for flaws? Am I looking, and finding that balance between the person who like knows who they are and can be patient, but or am I looking for problems? Am I being avoidant or things like that?
It's so confusing.
And I really struggle with that. And I remember having those. I remember I saying to my therapist, like, do I just need to do this? Like because I was afraid I wasn't gonna fall in love, because like when I was younger, you're just like, oh, I don't know what this feeling is. I think we should date,
Right.
And I couldn't replicate that feeling unless I was in this controlled environment, on a TV show.
Right.
And I was like, you're looking for that thing,
And does anyone exist with that thing?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
It can be a very scary feeling.
It's super scary. I totally feel you. I feel like it's very confusing. It's also like you have to choose to just like, you have to really choose to be there every day. It's like a very active decision. So if something is not working out, it can be like so hard to just like choose to be there, decide to like fix it. And then you have to know when to walk away. But it's also like, I don't think there is a clear cut. There's no like, oh, you guys should break up or not. It's more like, what do you see for yourself?
Yeah, no one's like, I broke up with them on the exact perfect day at the right time. You're always going to wonder one way or the other. You just kind of have to trust.
You have to trust yourself. For me, I always just think about like, do I want to live my life like this? You know what I mean? Yeah. Do I want to feel this way every day? If it's yes, then I'll continue. But if no, like if I literally am like, this can't happen anymore, and it's been enough time where we've talked about it, then it's like, okay, then I guess I have to make a decision for myself.
If I feel bad now, but like, is this the norm?
Yeah.
Or is this something that is happening now, but like
we can come.
Oh, if it gets, the normal feeling with this person or this relationship generally brings me joy and happiness, but right now, need a fix.
Which happens. I mean, that's with any kind of relationship.
But yes, a lot of people, it's more the opposite. It's just like you ask them and they're like, I've been miserable for 3 years.
Yeah.
And they're like, but we've been together for 8 years. I can't just throw it away.
Yeah.
It's been 8 years.
People think it's like a really big like celebration, like, oh, we've been together forever, which is great, but it's also like, are you hanging on to something that is truly not serving a purpose in your life that like is actually serving you? You know what I mean? It's
What's your love language?
I like a lot of quality time, and actually, you know what? Words of affirmation.
Okay.
Big words of affirmation kind of girl.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it. I like to hear good things. I like to make sure that you tell me, like, I like to be told, and comforted in that way.
So when you're not cooking, working, making movies, like what are your guilty pleasures where you just kind of check out and really kind of
so many things
get into?
I've started knitting recently, and I've been knitting, and I've been watching a lot of like either true crime podcasts, which is like very my mom, or I'll watch like I watch the stupidest stuff. It's actually crazy. I was watching like like the Beast Games and like stuff like that's like just so you know what I mean? It's like so fun to like when I want to like take a load off, I will truly get into brain rot in a big way. So a lot of that. I like I was really into MILF Manor at one point.
MILF Manor?
Wow.
Love MILF Manor. Love MILF Manor.
Is that the one Peter did?
I believe so. That's with like the older
ladies, and the first season was like with the younger
That my
but then they brought in the like, was it the dads and sons? Yes, Peter.
It's incredible.
Our friend show ran that.
Oh my God, it's truly an incredible piece of. I actually think it's like it's amazing. And whenever I tell people about it, they're like, "What does that mean?" I'm like, "MILF Manor, the MILFs and the sons." Okay, and they're like,
but not a porn.
No, but they clearly know what's trending. You know what I mean? And it's smart, and it's really smart. Yeah, so I like to watch that. I like to hang out with my friends.
Have you knitted anyone a sweater?
No, I'm right now in the phase of knitting like bandanas for my dog and cat.
We're starting small.
We're starting very small. It's very hard to knit, actually. And I've been like really getting into like the knit community around here. I go to like the small business. It's so cute. This yarn shop, and like everyone there, it's like so much yarn is beautiful, and like people like they have like classes there. They like talk to you about knitting. I'm just like, I feel like I'm inducted into some sort of society. It's great.
Sisters.
It's fun. It's so cute. Everyone has like their cute little knits, I was like,
do you have like what are you gonna knit when you really feel like you've got it down?
I think like a dress. I want to make like a little halter top dress. When I was a kid, I used to have a crochet string bikini, and by kid I mean like 2 years old, because my great grandma knitted it for me, or crocheted it for me, and so I kind of want to recreate it. I've been starting to like kind of recreate the bikini, but it's really hard. So I just keep just making squares and triangles, really.
And do you knit and watch TV?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My grandmother Phyllis, still with us, I used to live at like one time. My then girlfriend at the time broke up, and I was in my we were engaged actually, but like so we were living together, had to move out. Well, I didn't have to move out. I wanted to get the fuck out of there.
Of course.
And then my grandmother, who I only refer to as Phyllis, because when I was born, she was like 50, and she's like, I'm not ready to be a grandmother.
I love that.
And she lived downtown where, in the city I lived in, and I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here. So I had to shamefully, what felt at the time, like live with my grandma.
So cute.
Which ended up being like a great time, because she's a night owl, and I would go out to the bars, hang out with my friends, and come back. It'd be like 2 a.m. She's up knitting, watching TV.
That's so mean.
And then we would like download the night, and I would talk about like my nights and things like that. And it ended up being like just a very memorable.
I love it. I'm a grandma girl. Like my grandma raised me basically. My mom was in school and like worked at a restaurant, so I barely saw her. But my grandma raised me. I'm like such a grandma's girl. Like my grandma and I are like very close.
Was that hard for you when she went back to Brazil?
Yes, I was 18, so as soon as I moved out of the house, she was like, "I'm out. Like, I'm gone." It was really hard. I just saw her over the holidays when I was in New York, and it was really sweet. But yeah, it was really hard.
Do you get back to Brazil much?
I've been going more recently. I went last year. I went to Rio for work, and then my mom I like to go to Bahia, which is like my favorite place in Brazil. It's like so wonderful. It's like there's like a beach and it's just gorgeous, and I'm just like, but it's so far. It's like truly like a 25-hour journey.
Oh my God.
Of like many planes and drives and all sorts of things, but it's worth it. I if I go, I stay for a while, so it's like really nice.
Yeah, I hear it's
like little monkeys everywhere, just like it's like it's like a little like storybook. It's like my mom will send me videos when she's there, and she's just like, the monkeys are stealing my fruit, and they're like tiny little cute like little monkeys, or like just giant sloths everywhere. I'm like, this is in mud roads. It's so cool.
Wow.
It's so cool.
What is next for you? Like, what in a perfect world? Do you have a dream job, a dream type of film, or even maybe a particular actor out there that you've always kind of maybe fascinated or dreamt about working with?
Wow, manifestation time. Yeah. I think I've done a lot of contemporary stuff. Like a lot of the things I've done, even the films that haven't come out yet, which, I think this year a couple of them will come out. I really want to make something that's kind of like a period piece. Like I really want to step outside of just like the 2010s, 2020s, and just.
Is there a particular period that fascinates you the most?
I feel like I would do pretty good in like the 20, like not like super period, but like 20s and like maybe like 40s or something.
That's a great era.
Yeah, I feel like that's like like kind of like the kind of like boudoir, like pinup kind of like just like a lot of. I think that would be really cool. I mean, I'm open to whatever it is, but I think that'd be really nice. And I think. My favorite actress is like Cate Blanchett. Like that, like obviously it would be my dream. I think
Is there anyone in history that you would do like a biopic on?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Who?
Oh God. Let's see. Well, the thing is like people are very picky with that because they're like, you don't look like this person. I'm like, but what if I have prosthetics? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
you have no
2025.
idea.
I'm like,
the world of
if the
prosthetics
penguin can
do.
happen with prosthetics, and if people, there was like the Tammy Faye with the Jessica Chastain.
Yeah.
I'm like, prosthetics happen.
If Colin Farrell can play the penguin.
Literally with so much prosthetics.
Yeah.
Come on now. Why can't I play insert name here?
Yeah.
I don't know exactly who I would play. I feel like it would
There's
have
no one that you're like specifically drawn to from history that you're like, that would just be interesting, like
I
to
am
challenge
fascinated
yourself.
by like actresses of the past who kind of, I really love the theatrics of like, kind of old Hollywood. So
Ooh, yeah.
I don't know. I would say maybe I shouldn't say it, but I am working
think
on
on it.
something that may or may not happen about someone of that nature.
Very
So that's why I'm like,
exciting.
I don't know. I was thinking of someone else, and I was like, maybe I should. No, not yet.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
Well, Barbie, this has been so much fun.
Thank you for having me. This
You're
is so sweet.
so fun to talk to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
I'm sure I could keep going, but I know you have to get going. So
Listen,
she's busy.
Thank you for taking the time. This has been so much fun. Congratulations on a very beautiful movie.
Thank you.
Everyone check it out. Bob Trevino Likes It. And where can
March 21st in select theaters in New York, LA, and then March 28th in other theaters. Check it out.
Check it out.
BobTrevinoLikesIt.com.
It's a great friend film. It's a great
you
film.
can bring your family.
You go with your family. It you will be emotional, but like it really.
Most of my other work is not very family friendly, so this is the family friendly one.
Very family friendly. You will want to watch. You will see this film, and you will want to connect with people afterwards. And I think that's a very beautiful thing that we all need today. So.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you.
Thanks so much. So much fun to have with you. See you guys tomorrow. Bye. Hey guys, if you loved what you listened to, make sure you hit that subscribe button below. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.